Welcome to the regular meeting of council for Monday, July the 11th. I'd like to call this meeting to order and recognize that we are on the traditional territory of the Hupachesit and the Sishat First Nation. Any late items, councillors? Any late items, City Clerk?
None, Mr. Mayor.
Then motion to approve the agenda as circulated would be in order.
I'll make that motion, Mr. Mayor.
Second, Mr. Mayor.
All those in favor? Carried. And we have the minutes of the special meeting held at 1 p.m. and the regular council meeting held at 7 p.m. on June 27th, 2016. A motion to adopt those minutes is in order.
I'll make that motion, Mr. Mayor.
Seconder?
Second, Mr. Mayor.
All those in favor? Carried. Brings us to public input period. It's an opportunity for the public to address council on topics of relevance to City Council. Maximum of 4 speakers for no more than 3 minutes each to be accommodated. Please come forward and state your name and address for the record, please.
Good evening.
Welcome.
Joanne Silver, Executive Director of Alberni Community and Women's Services Society on 3rd Avenue, as you all well know. I'm here tonight to give you some input on an item coming later in your packages, which was a request that I put before Council that you participate in the funding of a video called Witness. And before I proceed with that, I'd like to introduce Lorna Bennett, who is the producer, director, and scriptwriter, who's a much awarded documentary filmmaker from South Africa, whose son is recently our new crown. Now, many of you know that at the beginning of my 3-year contract, and I'm now at the end, I had been trying to put together a video sort of hodgepodge with the high school and various people, and it didn't go very far. Well, when I found out that we had a documentary filmmaker in town, I jumped all over it. So Lorna and our victim services worker, Kim Tucci, and our domestic violence officer, Boyd Pearson, have put together a script, which is in your packages. And I believe you also have the very extensive CV of Lorna in your packages. What I had hoped for was that we would have money from the city, from the province, and from the NTC. So that's sort of what I've been working towards. I already have $500 from the Port Alberni Business Women's Network and some private donations of people who heard about it at the Homelessness Committee and have just come in and given us money. I think I also sent you our last annual report from June 28th of this year, 23rd, and in it, you will see a statistic that in the last quarter, we had 26 assaults that we dealt with at a cause, and only 3 of them were reported to the police. We hold the justice programs for victims in the Valley, with the exception of one lateral staff, which is at police-based victim services. So we end up seeing all of those people in the Valley who don't report to the police. That's a huge problem. And it's a huge problem for teenagers, for 13 to 17-year-olds who are maybe in foster care but really on the streets. It's a huge problem for women. It's a huge problem for boys. And we see all of those people in our community victim services. So what I'm asking you for, and you'll see it in your package, is funding support for this initiative. And I hope you've looked at the link that Jake sent you, that is the online short clip of the ask for support. I'll take questions.
Okay, this actually is presenting and we don't take questions in this area. But thank you so much.
Most welcome. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, brings us Brings us to the delegations, and turn this portion over to our deputy, or our city manager.
Mr. Mayor and Council, I'm very pleased to introduce to the Council tonight and to the community our new officer in charge from the RCMP, Inspector Brian Hunter. Inspector Hunter comes to us most recently from the Oceanside Detachment, where he was officer in charge. I can tell you that his reputation precedes him as an innovator and an outside-the-box law enforcement officer. And I, for one, am very excited, looking forward to working with the inspector. And I'm also very pleased that, on behalf of the city, I'm pleased that I can tell you, too, that the RCMP thinks very highly of Inspector Hunter, and he had his pick of communities to go to, and he chose to live and work in Port Alberni, so I'm very pleased. And having said that, I'll ask Inspector Hunter to take the lecture and introduce himself.
Welcome, Inspector Hunter.
Thank you, Your Worship, Council, CEO Play. It's an absolute honor to be here and serve your community, and I appreciate the opportunity this evening just to quickly introduce myself. I think it's appropriate that I advise you folks in the city a little bit about my background, where I came from in the policing world. I was born and raised in Ontario. My first posting was actually Shawnigan Lake in 1994. I was there for 5 years, and my wife and I, Julie, I convinced her to go on an adventure, and we headed up to Telegraph Creek, which is a small isolated post up by the Yukon, Alaska area. After 2 years there, I took an opportunity to be my first promotion as a supervisor in the organization, and promoted to Dease Lake Detachment, which is only 120 kilometers from Telegraph Creek, so still up there. Lateraled over to Salmon Arm Detachment from there, led a team of many constables there and experienced a busier detachment. I took command of Dease Lake after that, went up back up there as a sergeant in command. After my 2 years there, you're entitled to just about anywhere you want to go in the province, and I decided I wanted to go to Williams Lake to experience a policing environment that was very, very busy with extraordinary challenges, and to that end, it didn't disappoint. From there, I promoted to the position of the officer in charge of Oceanside Detachment, where I have been prior to this post for 7.5 years. There's an opportunity in our organization to take it to the next level, and my wife and I were ready for that challenge. You'll often hear me refer to my wife and I because we are a team, and as a team, we made the decision to. There's many opportunities in the province, but Port Alberni really fit what I was looking for as a leader of a detachment. It is a highly engaged detachment. It's a very active detachment. It's a vibrant community, and what I mean by that is it's a community with heart, and I knew that. And what you get with a community heart is community engagement, people that really care about their community. I'm really looking forward to working with the community on all aspects of ensuring it's a safe community to live, an attractive community for people to move to live and play. And I'm very, very much looking forward to that. I started at the detachment on July 4th. Very energetic group there. I'm very happy with what I see. And I think with my leadership, we can take the detachment to the next level and making this community an even safer place to be, and attractive for families to come here and enjoy their lives as well.
So, thank you, and it's a pleasure to have you come over. As in my position as chief salesman for the city of Port Alberni, did you buy a house yet?
Absolutely.
Good man. Okay, that's all we need to know.
And yeah, I'll share with the community as well. My wife, Julie, also has employment here in the city. She works at a local financial institution. She transferred in from the branch that she was working in Parksville. We're very fortunate about that. Our 19-year-old son, Jake, will be moving with us. I have an adult daughter who's 20 years old, lives in Victoria. We take possession of our house on Friday, so we've been guests at a hotel here in town who's treated us very, very well for the last couple of weeks, but I'd be lying to you if I didn't say I'm quite excited to move into our home, and we're very excited to be here. So,
like everybody else, I've been doing some checking, and I know that that our gain is definitely their loss. Oceanside is disappointed to see you leave. But we're really happy that you chose to come here and welcome you. There's definitely lots to keep you busy.
It's definitely a busy place, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. You have to have action in your community to have a vibrant community. So you certainly don't want a community that's dead and not active. So it is a vibrant community, and it is a busy detachment. We all know that, but it's nothing we can't handle, and I look forward to leading the team there.
So Brian, at this point, I'm going to allow councillors to introduce themselves, and if they have some questions, this is a good opportunity for them to ask a question, and you will at least be able to put some names to faces.
Perfect. Thank you, Your Worship.
Okay, let's start with Councillor McClellan.
Thank you very much for coming. My name's Jack McClellan. I'm a councillor here. I've been for quite some time. And welcome to Port Alberni, and glad you got a house, and hopefully you don't have any young children, so you'll be doing all the adult things, and that's good. And we got lots here for you. No, I don't have any specific questions. I'll probably be phoning you soon with a whole bunch, but I'll wait for that.
That's fine. I have an open phone, open door policy.
Yeah, I still have the OIC number on my cell phone from about 3 ago. So
You sure you want to have that open door policy? Yes. My name's Councillor Dennis Sove, and as you're well aware, I'm a veteran of the force for 27 years. I could let council know that we actually, for once, got the cream of the crop, and it's going to be a big advantage for us. And really welcome to your family, and looking forward to seeing you more.
Thank you.
Take care.
Appreciate that.
Councillor Ron Paulson, and I just want to know if you can skate. We're looking for an old-timers hockey hard digging centerman.
I can skate, but I don't think I'd be any value to your team.
I tried. I'm recruiting. Nice to meet you, and welcome to the
Thank
community.
you. You as well.
Yeah.
He's from Ontario, but he moved around so much he didn't have time to learn.
Yeah, well, it's ponds, you know.
Yeah.
That's right. Hi, I'm Shari Minions, and no questions, but welcome to Port Alberni, and looking forward to working with you.
Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Chris Alamany. No questions, just very happy to see you here, and I'm sure it'll be a great experience going forward.
Thank you very much.
Right. Dan Washington, just welcome you to the community and remind you tomorrow night we've got an Our Town program at Blair Park. I can give you more details later, and glad you're going to be around for our 45th annual Port Alberni Salmon Festival. Welcome.
Fantastic. Thank you.
All right. So thank you so much for coming, and I know that as council we're going to be getting together with you before too long, and we'll be able to share some ideas, concerns, and what have you. So thank you so much.
Very much looking forward to it. Thanks.
Okay. Brings us to our next part, the unfinished business, our infrastructure strategic renewal plan. We had a notice of motion, the regular meeting of June 27th, to direct staff to develop an infrastructure strategic renewal. And I believe the city engineer is here to provide verbal comment.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It does interest me that council is interested in renewing the infrastructure. As you know, on an annual basis, I make my presentation, and I try to do my best to describe our total inventory in terms of dollar value, and also in a condition way as well. And if I can ask council to think back to my last presentation where we did the water and sewer rates, for instance, and there was quite an extensive review of the water and sewer infrastructure where we charted out for 20 years what the value of our infrastructure is, but also the components of it. And we also put the lifespan of those components. So we had a very attractive chart that showed how things were going to deteriorate based on these lifespans, and also the funding value that we would need to create that. So in that regard, that's an infrastructure plan for sewer and water in terms of what we have, expected length of life, and the funding levels that we need. On the road side, you know, I talk about the inventory. I say 150 kilometers of roads. We spend so much per kilometer if it was just a center strip asphalt renewal, or if we're to do a major. I've gone through that and tried to identify the challenges ahead in terms of the funding levels that we need to meet that infrastructure strategy as well. So what I'd like to do is answer any questions, of course, but also in our next budget process, maybe highlight some of those things a little bit more, focus those offline a little bit more too. I think we've got an infrastructure plan. It's just executing it.
Executing and, yes, the funding that goes with it. Councillor Sauvé.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The reasoning behind me making this notice of motion is some key words that you said for the past 2 years that we're, and the taxpayers are very concerned to the fact that we're 50 years behind in our infrastructure and all that. And it just raises red flags for everybody, and we want to make sure we at least got a certain plan that we're caught up after certain decades and so forth. And I'm glad that the mayor and council decided to start in the early stages of preparing our budget and so forth. And it's pretty much to remind council that we have an aging infrastructure, and for me, and I'm sure for many others on council, it's the biggest priority. And I just want to make sure that it's kept in the back of your head, and we get our priorities and at least have a game plan as in how we're going to attack this. Sure. So I would really appreciate it. Thank you.
Councillor McClement.
Yeah, thank you very much. I was prepared to second Councillor Sauvé's motion to bring up a detailed plan to fix up the infrastructure. Now, did I hear correctly say that you have a plan?
Mr. Mayor, yes, we do have a plan. In particular, I'll repeat the water and sewer plan, and it relates to the agenda tonight. We're going to raise the rates. We're going to raise the rates on the water and sewer structure. So that when that was brought to you, it was all around analyzing the infrastructure that we have and trying to achieve some revenues within those funds to then start spending that money. So I'm sure you recall that those presentations quite clearly.
Well, that's water and sewer. What I would like to see is a list of what you feel or your department feels are the priorities around town on streets, sewers, water lines, etc. that need to be fixed. And you're not going to get it perfect. Something's going to break and make that have to come to the top. But if we had a list and we knew that we were going somewhere, and if the public had a list and knew we were going somewhere, I don't think we would have the same criticism that we're not doing anything, because really we're not putting a lot into infrastructure. We don't have a lot. We don't want to put taxes up. We always, councils for the last several decades have put it off, and not just Port Alberni, but every town in the country. So is it possible to have a list from your department of the priorities and the things that are needed first?
Well, Mr. Mayor, every year I bring a 5-year list. It's a list of 5 years long. So I don't know what else you're driving at.
I would just like to see something that's laid out for us. And I know we get a sort of a 5-year list, but these 5-year plans that we've been doing, it's not your fault, but they kind of gets redone every time. I'm not being critical. I'm just asking if we could have that kind of a chronological order of things that you would like to see done.
Perhaps we could just recirculate what you distributed at budget time. Might be,
Yeah.
if it's available.
I think it's probably on the website too.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Alberni, then Councillor Minions.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So when I saw this notice of motion, which I think is really good, we do need to address the infrastructure deficit that we have. One question I have is there's a definition of infrastructure. So we're, if I'm understanding the discussion, we're talking roads, not necessarily buildings or that kind of infrastructure.
No, we're talking roads, water, and sewage.
Okay. So given that, I think this is a really good opportunity for us as the city to go the same route as we've done with sewer and water, where we did that overarching plan, analyzed it all, and came out with the graph that the engineer is referring to that gave us a really clear idea of sort of where we are and the path towards a sustainable funding that will actually renew our roads in a real manner. I know the engineer as he puts forward the lists every year that should get us to that, but I think it would be really helpful to have that concrete document so that we can do things like we are now today, further on the agenda to raise rates because we have this report and that's all justified and it all makes sense. So I think this is a really good opportunity for us not to just say, okay, well, we want to spend more on roads, but what's the full plan? What does it actually look like? What's the end goal? What does that actual funding level look like? That's what we're kind of missing. And then as we get there, we can also talk about, do we want to just pave as we've always done and do status quo, or are there other ways of creating that roadscape that would be maybe less maintenance down the line? So I think there's a larger discussion there, and I would really like to take this opportunity to have that larger discussion about, not just, yes, we need to do that road and that road and that road, and that should get us down the line, but what does our infrastructure look like, and have a really good look at it, and put something really concrete like we have with the sewer and the water maintenance. So just my thoughts on that.
Okay, Councillor Minions?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. When I saw the notice of motion, I remembered the plans, and I went and found the reports that you presented to us last year at budget, and I just wanted to ask a quick question. It was said in the sewer report that up till 2012, sewer infrastructure was underfunded by about $600,000 a year, and it didn't really say beyond that. So, and I didn't have time to look up exactly what we spent last year, but I'm curious if are we now funding what we need to be, or are we on the path to doing that? Or are we still shorting ourselves $600,000 a year based on what we are spending?
Yeah. Mr. Mayor, the funding level wouldn't get any smaller. So it would be the 600,000 annually, and it would rise. We aren't at that level, clearly. And but where I could say that we are making headway is with raising the rates so that we can generate the revenue within that fund, which is outside of the general taxation. It's however you want to look at that, but at the same time, that money is being dedicated. Now we try to, if we want to separate the discussion around roads, it'd be nice to have a road fund too, but we don't have that. The roads fund and the stormwater is a general revenue funded project. I'm not aware of particular, road funding situations. How do you collect money for that, or how do you allocate money? So these are the discussions that I think are worthy to have in that process coming up. Are there innovative ways to set aside dedicated amounts of money for particular assets? And I think we should consider buildings as an infrastructure piece as well, right? And our parks, all of that type of stuff has a lifespan, and these lifespans. I was mentioning earlier, it was kind of interesting on the Argyle Street pump station. We reviewed that earlier this afternoon. Well, that was I think 58 years old or something, but it's been replaced. So we built that in 77, and then we replaced it in 2004. You know, a full, complete recycle, right? The town's pretty young. You know, it's only 100 years old, and yeah, these are the situations that we're dealing with. I could carry on for a long time, but I won't.
But when we enter the budget process in the fall, it'll be a really critical conversation, together with all of that information that you're talking about and council's asking for. So we've got that big picture.
Yeah.
And it's not that, you know, we don't want anything unusual. It's just, let's make sure we've got that big picture.
Yeah, you got to feel it. You got to feel that big picture.
Maybe we'll never feel it the same way you do, but, you know. we
I'm
hope to get
trying. I'm trying.
there. Okay, city engineer, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Our next item, acting city manager, organization and compensation review costs. You're providing a report of the summary of costs of the organization and compensation review report, and perhaps you'd be able to walk us through that?
Sure, Mr. Mayor. I think Davina will put that up on the screen.
I was looking for it in my package, I didn't see it, so.
Yeah, I apologize, Mr. Mayor. It was my report to complete. I didn't get it done in time for the agenda package, so it was brought on as a, not a late item, but added on Friday.
And it was sent as an email?
And it was also posted on the city website.
Okay.
And that was my, I just didn't meet the deadline. So, Mr. Mayor, I'll walk you through the report. Council directed that a report be provided outlining a summary of costs associated with the 2015 Organization and Compensation Review. As background, in 2015, the city retained, we undertook a request for proposals process, and we retained Judy Rogers Consulting to undertake a review and organization and compensation review. And we received that report in September of 2015. In February 2016, Council passed a number of resolutions, motions based on recommendations within that report. And later in May of this year, Council passed further motions regarding recommendations from the Rogers report. The Rogers report directly, in terms of strategic plan implications, 5.2 effective and efficient operations and delivery of service is directly impacted by this report. So I'll say, Council, that it is common for municipalities to periodically undertake third-party organizational reviews, and in fact, this organization has undertaken several in recent years that are listed in the report. So in this report, Council has made a number of changes during this term, and some are clearly attributed to recommendations in the Rogers report, and some you could draw a linkage, and some you couldn't. So I'll say that this report sets out known or projected cost increases and decreases associated with the organization and compensation review. In some cases, cost increases and decreases could arguably not be directly associated with the organization and compensation review. And so staff has made best efforts to differentiate where we think costs were associated or not associated. I've broken it down, the costs, into annual summaries. So you'll see on the screen 2015. We undertook the report in 2015, and we received the report in 2015, and took limited action based on the report in 2015. And so on balance, I found that the costs were $40,610 incurred, net costs incurred in 2015. And in 2016 was when the bulk of changes were initiated, resulting from recommendations in the Rogers report. And so they're listed in the report, some costs avoidance, some direct savings. And the net for 2016 that we anticipate, knowing what we know today, we're only halfway through this year, the net is $49,713. And there's some things that are unspecified. Some things we're unable to put a cost to. And there may be some more costs this year. There may be some cost avoidance this year. Where items were not fully developed to the point where we could put a number to them, we didn't put a number to them. And then the next table shows 2017 and beyond. And this is an annual summary. So beginning in 2017, I found that we can expect a net cost of $8,387. And that would be likely a recurring net cost year after year. So part of my summary says that pursuit of efficiencies, cost savings, and improvements to service delivery are common reasons why municipalities undertake third-party reviews. Implementation of recommendations from third-party reviews can result in short-term cost increases, as we've seen here. It may be possible that implementation of recommendations made in the Rogers Report will result in long-term improvements in service delivery and/or cost savings. It is not possible at the point of time of writing this report that those potential efficiencies and/or cost savings are certain enough to reflect in this report. So I feel that I can see some possibilities for some efficiencies of service, possibly some cost avoidance going forward, but there's not enough certainty to those to start to put them in a report and present them in a public meeting like this. And I'm sure council can anticipate some potential as well. Mr. Mayor, I'd say in the final table in this report, I've identified a couple items that I regarded not to be resulting directly from the Rogers Report. So again, people might disagree one way or the other, but there was some items, some costs and some cost avoidance that occurred over the last year and a half that, and some undefined costs that we just don't have enough certainty around to say they were attached to the Rogers Report or not. So, Mr. Mayor, it's a fairly complicated, the costing is fairly complicated. Yeah, I'm happy to answer questions on it.
Questions, Council? Councillor Sauvé.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I know we're doing this publicly here, but it's going to be attached to the website so people could have access or be accessible here.
That's correct.
On the bulletin board.
It was attached to the website on Friday, adjacent to the agenda.
Okay, is it possible to get a copy for the bulletin board?
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else, Council? City Manager, there's in the section where it says cost changes not directly resulting from the Rogers Report, there any costs that have been identified that maybe weren't mentioned in here? Or you need to weave anything in there that you haven't included?
Again, Mr. Mayor, I don't want to speculate in a report. So I haven't speculated about some things that may or may not occur. There's been some discussion around recently changes to our in-camera meetings, the attendance of fewer exempt employees, fewer managers at those meetings. And those meetings have largely occurred during the work hours, the day hours, whereas they used to be in the evenings. So one could construe that having fewer exempt employees at those meetings is an efficiency because there's fewer people tied up in a meeting, so our exempt staff will be on the tools more during the workday. That's not a cost avoidance, but it's an efficiency that we're not spending as much time in meetings as we might have in the past. Others might construe that as in a different way, but I haven't reflected in the report because it doesn't involve a direct cost or a avoidance of cost. There's likely other examples like that.
Okay, thank you very much. Anything else, Council? City Clerk, do we need a motion to receive this?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I think that would be appropriate.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
I move we
somebody,
receive the CAO's report.
And also,
any further discussion, Council? All those in favor? Carried. Thank you very much. We have questions, Council, from the June 27th regular council meeting, and there is a response that I have. A question was asked about how exempt staff salaries and benefits are negotiated. Exempt employees are sometimes referred to as managers. They are those employees who are not unionized. So each exempt employee is engaged under a separate employment agreement. There is no collective agreement for exempt employees, as there is for our unionized employees. Benefits for exempt staff are generally determined by policies that are approved by council. Council has, as you know, very recently reviewed and adjusted those policies. The city utilizes a comprehensive program that evaluates exempt positions and establishes a salary range for each exempt position that reflects the salary ranges for similar positions in comparative communities. Exempt employee salaries are subject to negotiation within this established range. Okay, thank you. Moving on. Staff reports. First one, accounts. We have a motion. Councillor Washington, you want to make that motion, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that the certification of the Director of Finance dated July 11, 2016 be received and checks numbered 135571 to 135695 inclusive, and payments of accounts totaling $16,389,908.13 be approved.
I'll second that, Mr. Mayor.
All those in favor? Carried. And we have our annual report that was presented, and there are copies of the annual report available in City Hall as well as on the city website. It's available, as I said, at the city website. Are there any questions or comments from the public about the annual report? Any questions or comments from council about the annual report? Councillor McClement.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I think it's well laid out and easy to read, and that's good. Sometimes I think these things get drier than they need to be, dry as they can be anyway, but I think it is something that can be read, and people have questions they can ask.
Well, I have to say, there's, yes, some great pictures, particularly of those wonderful flowers on Johnson Road, which, by the way, some of them seem to be missing from this year's flowers. Not sure what happened with that, but
You keep an eye on it.
I do keep an eye on them. Every time I go by, I check to make sure how many flowers are there. Council, there's a very interesting, and I'm sorry I can't find the page, but there's a very interesting comparison of property tax. Comparing the city of Port Alberni to property taxes in about 19 other communities in BC. And it's puts it into a nice perspective. What page is that?
28.
Okay, thank you. Oh, yes. And comparing us through communities, as I said, all throughout BC, perhaps West Vancouver was a little bit over the top in terms of comparing, you know, 2.3 million compared to 185,000 average house value. But regardless, the average total residential property taxes, and that's in the end is what we are concerned about, shows Port Alberni to be pretty low by comparison to most other communities. So it's an interesting chart to bring out, and in fact this is an annual report that not only do I think reflects well on our community, but it's one that's easy to share with other communities and other community leaders. Anything else, Council? Then, Councillor Minions, do you want to move to endorse the annual report?
That Council for the City of Port Alberni endorse the annual report for the year ended December 21st, 2015, December 31st, 2015, as presented.
Second, Mr. Mayor.
All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. And from the Director of Finance, report on private managed land. We have a report in response to a request from Council to investigate the potential for the reduction in tax rates for managed forest lands and farmlands. I'm sorry, got ahead of myself. From the Director of Finance, the 2015 Comprehensive Annual Financial Report, which is This one. And council, any questions? All right, then, Councillor Washington, do you want to move acceptance of this report?
Certainly, Mr. Mayor. I move that the comprehensive annual financial report for the year ending December 31st, 2015 be received.
I'll second that, Mr. Mayor.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Carried. Now on to the other one that I talked about, the private managed forest land. Also from the Director of Finance, we have the report dated July 4th in response to a request from Council. And are there questions on that report, Council? Councillor Alberni?
Just a couple questions. The whole tax rate thing still boggles my mind sometimes. My question is just about the class multiple. I'm not entirely clear what that means. The class multiple is 2.46 times the residential rate. I don't know if the city CAO could clarify that, or maybe just come back another
Mr.
time.
Mayor, I'll try and clarify and then maybe come back. But my understanding is the residential multiplier is 1. And so 2.46 would be 2.46 times higher than the residential rate. And
Okay.
different classes of property are taxed at different multiplier rates.
Okay. The other one, I was wondering if they, if Director of Finance was able to apply any kind of a value, or was able to find out what sort of assessed value the private managed forest lands in other communities is generally at, like, just as a ballpark, because without that kind of information, then it's hard to know exactly what kind of implication it would have. That's my other question.
Councillor McClellan?
Yeah, I kind of asked for this initially and was voted on to get onto our status report. The reason for looking at this is the city has always been wanting to expand boundaries, and I have spent time talking to, including private managed forest land people whose property would be in some of the expansions, and farms who would be in some of the expansions. And it looks to me, and I'm guessing that's this multiple thing that is going to throw us a little bit. It looks to me like if they were to join the city, it'd be the higher tax, and why would they? And nobody is ever forced to. They have to want to or agree to. And I would like to see our boundaries expanded in certain areas if the people want it, and I would like to make it attractive for them to want to. And that's where I would like to see. I guess what is happening here is when these lands that can only be used as private managed forest, can only be used as farm, are assessed outside particular city limits, their assessment is low. And therefore, when you get a multiplier on a very low assessment, you're paying a lot lower amount of taxes. And when I asked the representative from the private managed forest how much taxes they paid, he says hardly any. And very little were two answers I got. So I don't know what that means. What he said was that what he was doing was justifying their existence by saying that if a company was didn't stay within the private managed forest land group, that they would lose this tax break. And he said the tax break was very good. So what I'm reading here is not what I'm hearing there, but it may be the same thing in different words. So I would like to make a motion to receive this report and request that prior to the next budget time, we take off the private managed forest land instead of putting it there as a high tax rate, is what we've been doing. We don't have any, and we don't want to scare people away from wanting to be within city limits, and that's with the farms too. We have just a couple in town, but I'd like to see them succeed. I'd like to see them join the city, and yeah, we might not get as much taxes per whatever, but it's more than we're getting now. So that's just my.
Okay, so you're making that motion?
And the motion is to straighten out the tax schedule by the next budget time.
Okay, is there a seconder for Councillor McClemens? Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor? Carried. Thank you, Councillor McClellan. Councillor Alberni, I do note that it says in here that that the city does have flexibility in determining the class multiple. And I think that may have happened in Campbell River, although I'm not 100% sure, but I think that's what happened there.
I wasn't entirely sure the difference between the 1352 that's mentioned there and the multiple, but we'll figure that out. It's all good.
Okay, thank you. Then Deputy City Clerk has brought forward for us City Hall Elevator Enabling Access Grant Application, and it's on page 156 in our package. So, Deputy City Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Before you, Council, is a report outlining a request for a $100,000 commitment from the Land Sale Reserve Fund to advance a grant application for the installation of an elevator here at City Hall. City Hall was constructed in 1959, and that was during a period which, unfortunately, providing disability access and providing unobstructed access to buildings was not a part of the building code and not a primary building consideration. So the split level design of our facility has challenged us in order to provide that sort of access. It's challenged us ever since the beginning, and the city has attempted to mitigate those issues in a number of ways, which are detailed in the report. In my opinion, we have not succeeded. We still have many people come to City Hall either in wheelchairs or with strollers or with general mobility issues who struggle to gain access to this building. So staff has identified a grant opportunity through the Enabling Accessibility Fund that would cover part of the cost of the installation. And so we're requesting your commitment to advance a grant application and make that commitment from the Land Sale Reserve Fund.
And Council, I can certainly attest, during the property tax time, there were quite a number of people who were challenged trying to get into City Hall to pay their taxes. And it was difficult to watch that. Councillor Sobe, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I just want to really thank the staff for doing the work for this, and I know it's been an issue I've been raising for some time now, especially with the seniors and those unprivileged to be able to come up and actually visit. So thank you for doing the grant research, and this is going to truly be an asset in the community who is welcome to it. Thank you.
Councillor Minions and Councillor McClellan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm just curious if we've had quotes for this work done, or is this just a rough estimate at this
So
point?
that's still in progress. Our facilities operations supervisor will be undertaking that work. We've got a bit of a tight deadline around this, so we don't have those quotes yet, but we'll have them in hand prior to submission.
Councillor McClellan.
Yeah, two questions. One, how much is in, because I don't remember the Land Sale Reserve. Last I remember, it was quite low. I guess there's 100 in it. When we sell some of the other property, we'll be able to build up on that if we ever get that far. And where here did you envision the, I'm sitting here trying to think of where this elevator would be good, and definitely not in the front foyer area because they have to climb upstairs to get there, so.
Good questions. So Councilor McClellan, first of all, there's $190,000 unobstructed within the Land Sale Reserve Fund, I understand.
That all?
Yes, that's correct. And then to your second question, it's envisioned to go right in the front foyer where we'd basically occupy half of the stairwell that goes downstairs and then take over what's currently a utility closet in the upstairs. That way then there's a ramp that goes right up to that front door. We'd have to put in a power operated door, and then they'd be able to go to the upper or lower floors unobstructed.
I never thought you'd put it there. I can see it coming in the back door up here, like this door, right by council chambers, and I can see it downstairs where they come in level. But if that's the only, maybe the only place structurally we can do it. So.
Yeah, I think just the intention here is, again, to provide one access point in which you can go to both levels, and it's right at the front door, which everyone else is able to make use of as well. If we send people around to the side, which we're currently doing, again, it creates challenges and barriers which we don't want to place in front of people.
Councillor Paulson.
I understand the dilemma. I guess where I'm looking at is this is an unbudgeted item in our budget, and I just want to make sure that if there's something unforeseen, that it's not going to get downloaded onto the taxpayer. We've already made plans for budgeting, and if we apply for the grant and we get the grant, but it comes in at $250,000, we still have the ability to say, we'll hold off or wait, right?
Precisely. Certainly, we'd like to have this budgeted. We'd like to bring this forward at a budget time. What's driving this, of course, is the grant opportunity. It's been certainly on our radar for a long time, and the grant actually has not been available for a number of years for whatever reason. It's now available, so we're just bringing this request forward, but ideally it would come through the budget process.
Right. And just if we're spending $100,000 here, we're going to not be able to spend $100,000 somewhere else. So trying to balance the book.
Absolutely.
Okay.
But I don't think we can balance the book on the backs of those people. But I also want to, for us to remember that we made a commitment in terms of to $250,000, keeping it reserved in the event that we have to purchase to buy back the plywood site. So, it all fits in that big jigsaw called a budget. So I'm sure we can make it fit. We've done miracles so far. So having said that, Councillor Paulson, do you want to make that motion? That the report from the Deputy City Clerk, Communications Coordinator, dated July the 5th, 2016, be received, and Council for the City of Port Alberni confirm the City's commitment approximately $100,000 from the Land Sale Reserve Fund for the installation of an elevator at City Hall, contingent on a successful application to the Enabling Accessibility Fund. Is there a seconder?
I'll second that, Mr. Mayor.
Any further discussion, Council? All those in favor? Carried. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
And Council, we have a status report. There any questions, Council, on the current status report? Seeing none, then Councillor Sobe, do you want to move receipt of that?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, that we received a current status report.
Is there a seconder? Second, Mr. Mayor. All those in favor? Carried. And, sorry, we're going faster than my fingers. Under the manager's monthly reports from the planning department. City planner's not here. City manager, are you able to comment on any of this or answer any questions if council has some?
Mr. Mayor, I can take questions, and if I can't answer them, I can defer them to city planner, who is away on vacation.
Okay. Council, any questions? Okay, then Councillor Alberni, do you want to move receipt of that report?
I move that the monthly report from the city planner be received.
Seconder?
Second, Mr. Mayor.
All those in favor? Carried. And you okay? All right. Council, we're on to G, bylaws. From the city clerk, public hearing report of June 27th. City clerk, do you need to give us any information before we vote on this?
Mr. Mayor, this is the written report of the public hearing that was held on June 27th, and it was with regards to the River Road property, an amendment to the zoning bylaw to facilitate the construction of a residential duplex on that property, and also the application from Charlene Patterson, 4815 Argyle Street, applying to amend the official community plan and the zoning bylaw to allow for residential use of the property with accessory uses such as hostel, restaurant, pub, and assembly.
Okay, thank you. And More for the information of public. A bylaw requires 4 separate resolutions to be adopted and must be considered over a minimum of 2 council meetings. So each reading enables council to reflect on the bylaw before proceeding further. And Councillor Alemany, do you want to move receipt of that report?
I move that the report of the public hearing held June 27, 2016 regarding bylaws 4911, 4912, 4913, and 4914 be received.
I'll second that, Mr. Mayor.
All those in favor? Carried. And the next one as well, Councillor Alemany?
That zoning bylaw map amendment number 15, 6031 River Road, Shaw, bylaw number 4911, be now finally adopted, signed by the mayor and clerk, sealed with the corporate seal, and numbered 4911.
I'll second that, Mr. Mayor.
All those in favor? Carried. And from the city planner, we have a report on perimeter drains. And council's being asked to consider amending a building bylaw. City manager, are you able to sort of give us a quick overview on that?
Mr. Mayor, the city's building bylaw requires a permit for perimeter drains, but doesn't require a fee at this point. And so the report says that a proposed fee of $200 would cover a portion of the cost. And that's the ask there.
So this is the city's ability then to help essentially protect the property owner or make sure that what they're doing is in their own best interest. Is that correct?
We've had several examples of perimeter drains being installed incorrectly and having to be replaced. So our building bylaw enables us to require a permit, but we don't currently require a permit. So this would say that we'll require a permit and we'll attach a fee to it. And then it'll be inspected.
And so in the end, it'll be good
That's
for
correct.
the property owner?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And again, from the Councillor Alemany, do you want to move receipt of that?
That the report from the city planner dated July 6, 2016 be received.
Is there a seconder? All those in favor? Oops, sorry, Councillor Minions.
Thank you. Just one quick question. I'm just curious, and I'm not sure if our city manager would know if the regional district charges the same fee for if they have the same requirement, or if we would be adding something that they maybe don't charge for.
Yeah, I'm not aware of that. I can check on that and come back.
Councillor Sauvé?
I'd just like to know, at this time, any property owner that's doing work and they're having leakage problem, whatever the issue is, and they do their own perimeter drainage, do they require a permit to actually do that work?
Mr. Mayor, the report tells me that we don't currently require a permit to do perimeter drains. And I'm not sure if the question means perimeter or lot drainage.
Perimeter for the housing.
Yeah, so we don't currently require a permit, and the report asks that we do require that and charge a $200 fee.
Councillor McClellan?
Yeah, $200 don't sound like much, but it's just another thing on top of another thing and another thing for people wanting to do something with their house or build a house. I don't think my property has a perimeter drain, but I could be wrong. I know it's got one that goes from the house out to a storm drain sewer type thing in the alley, but I don't know. I just a little bit confused as to why all of a sudden this is here, and it just seems to me that we have a lot of things on the status report that we wanted done and brought through for bylaws and so on, and none of them make it, but this one is here. So I'm not overly opposed to it. I just don't quite understand why it's suddenly important, and $200, like I say, doesn't sound like much, but just another thing added to the home builder. So I'd like to know really what the benefit is. Do we have a lot of problems, or just 2 problems came up in the last year, or is there, what is it?
City manager.
Mr. Mayor, council's asking questions that I can't answer, and I suggest that we wait until the city planner's back and he can answer those questions.
Okay. But we can still receive the report. Right? Okay. I believe, Councillor Alemany, you've moved. Moved. Has it been seconded? And it's been seconded. All those in favor of receiving this report? Carried. And since it is a bylaw, and it has to be read 4 times, so there isn't a huge danger in reading it twice, we can still get our information back from the city planner. Councillor Alemany, do you want to keep going?
Just one question, Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
By reading all these 3 bylaws, are we actually accepting the bylaw?
No,
Not yet.
because they have to be read 4 times before over 2 council meetings.
Okay, perfect, thanks.
Sorry, City Clerk, did I jump in and answer your question for you? Aren't you impressed? I remembered what I read. Okay, sorry, Councillor Alemany.
That building bylaw amendment number 1, bylaw number 4915, be now introduced and read a first time.
Seconder?
Second, Mr. Mayor.
All those in favor? Opposed? Carried.
That bylaw, building bylaw amendment number 1, bylaw number 4915, be read a second time.
Second, Mr. Mayor.
All those in favor? Opposed? Carried.
And that building bylaw amendment number 1, bylaw number 4915, be read a third time.
Second, Mr. Mayor.
All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, city engineer. We have water and sewer rate proposal.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And what we have in front of us here is to finalize, administer the direction that council gave during the budget plan, and that was to raise the water and sewer rates. And this is the administration that goes around that. We have to put this together before the September 2016 billing. This is an annual exercise that comes out of the budget process. And I provided some background for you, Mr. Mayor, over the years on the sewer and water rate. But as I said earlier, you know, it's critically important to start building funds for the replacement of the sewer and water infrastructure.
Councillor Minions?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I've raised this concern before, but regarding the water rates, it still just doesn't seem right to me that Beaver Creek buys our water from us for less than residents get it for. I know that they have other fees associated with their water, but a lot of people have expressed the same concern that it just doesn't seem right that, you know, we pay whatever, 60 and they pay 40 for the same water. So I'm wondering if before we read this bylaw the 4th time at least, if we'd be able to get an example of, I've just been told that they pay additional fees to the ACRD and that their water is actually substantially more expensive, but I've never seen that. And I'm just, I mean, it still doesn't even really seem right to me that, I know they buy it in bulk and there's less maintenance, but it just seems strange that they get it for less than we get it. So maybe we could get a little bit more information on the fees.
Sure, we could, and if you know any of your friends and whatnot in the regional district, you know, you could do a direct comparison of their water bill. I could just, you know, just point out that, yeah, it's a simpler connection for us because it's one pipe, and we don't have to maintain the water that we sell beyond that water meter. And as you're aware, there's a lot of work and a lot of money goes into replacing water lines, servicing fire hydrants, renewing connections. It really goes on. And so a bulk rate is cheaper than a retail rate.
Sure.
Okay. And I will get that information for you.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Councillor Alemany.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Along the same lines, I went through the report and didn't see anything quite there. So I was just wondering if you could maybe for the next meeting bring forward sort of an average, what an average household uses and an average bill and what that bill might go up to after these changes, just so the public has an idea of what to expect.
Sure.
Okay, anything else? Okay, is someone wishing to make the motion to receive?
I'll make the motion that we receive the report from the city engineer dated July 6, 2016.
Second, Mr. Mayor.
All those in favor? Carried. And then, council, we have the bylaw amendment number 8 on rate changes for first, second, and third reading. Someone prepared to make those? Councillor Sauvé?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That the Waterworks bylaw amendment number 8, rate changes bylaw number 4916 be now introduced and read for the first time.
Is there a seconder?
Second, Mr. Mayor.
Any questions? Councillor McClement?
Yeah, every time we put the rates up, you know, they never come back down. They're gonna go up, and we gotta understand that. But I would still like to see something that the people who are paying this can see that this is our schedule in fixing the water lines, this is our schedule in fixing the sewer lines, so they know they're getting something for their money. I don't subscribe to the to the idea that we need to keep putting them up all the time just to do it, but I do know we're behind, so yes, we're gonna have to do that. And you know, we've already got water meters, which keep our water consumption down, but the problem is it also keeps the money down that we're getting in, so therefore we have to raise the actual rate so that we get the same amount of money to fix the same system. So it's a catch-22 is what we've got ourselves into. So I would like to see a schedule, not necessarily by next week, but before the next budget time, so that people can see what they're paying towards and what streets are going to get done. I think it's a good thing.
Okay, thank you.
Just voting on the motion, it's been second.
And is that the
first reading.
The first one?
That's right.
Okay, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried.
That the Waterworks bylaw amendment number 8, rate changes bylaw number 4916 be read a second time.
Second, Mr. Mayor.
All those in favor? Carried.
That the Waterworks bylaw number 8, rate changes bylaw number 4916 be read a third time.
Second, Mr. Mayor.
All those in favor? Carried. Stuck. My iPad definitely doesn't like me today. Okay, maybe it's my fat fingers. Then the next item, council, is the sewer connections regulation bylaw. Councillor Sauvé, you're doing a great job so far.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That the sewer connections and regulation bylaw amendment number 10, sewer rates and septic dump fee 2016 bylaw 4917 be now introduced and read for the first time.
Is there a seconder?
Second, Mr. Mayor.
All those in favor? Carried.
That the sewer connection and regulation bylaw amendment number 10, sewer rates and septic dump fee 2016 bylaw number 4917 be read a second time.
Second, Mr. Mayor.
All those in favor? Carried.
That the sewer connection and regulation bylaw amendment number 10, sewer rates and septic dump fee 2016 bylaw number 4917 be read a third time.
Second, Mr. Mayor.
All those in favor?
Question,
Sorry,
Mr. Mayor.
Councillor McClement?
Yeah, on this, oh, maybe I'm looking at the wrong one. Okay, it's got something here, but all right, I'll ask later.
Okay. So again, on the motion, all those in favor? Carried. Okay, council, that brings us to correspondence for action. The item is the one that was introduced to us earlier from the Alberni Community and Women's Services Society, also known as a cause. We have a letter dated June 28th, requesting funding of at least $5,000. And council wish to discuss this? Councillor Sauvé?
I would just like to know if the Women's Service Society have approached the regional district and the First Nations and so forth for the same funding, or is it just the city for this?
Do you want to come forward and we could just quickly ask a question? I see you nodding your head, so you're probably with a cause.
I am Ellen Frood, and I am the incoming executive director for A Cause. I'm thrilled to be here. The address is 3rd Street for the record. So through you, Mayor, yes, we have reached out to all sectors at this particular time, and are doing whatever we can to bring this forward. It is something that will be available through all of the networks, the social networks, the schools, the educational people, and is something that's critically needed to provide the information for young people to come forward. The statistics provided to you by Joanne were very simply for 1 quarter, so a short period of time, and this recurs, again and again and again. So people are afraid to come forward. The whole premise of this is to educate and teach people how the system works and to make them feel comfortable. We wanna fight this, and yes, we have, again, in answer to your questions, been reaching out. We've been reaching out to banks, you name it, whoever we can. We're talking to in terms of finding funding.
And my question would be, did you get a response from the regional district or even victim services?
Not at this point, no.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Minions?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just curious, if we were to commit the $5,000 and you're not successful raising the rest of the funds, will the project go forward in a smaller manner, or do you have?
It's very difficult to take a project like this forward in a smaller manner because we have our producer. We have to have the people in place. There's a full budget. I'm not certain if you received the full budget with the letter. I think you did, right? So it details exactly what the costs are. It's pretty slim to start. Yeah.
Councillor Paulson?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And this is not a question for you, but it's looking at the $5,000. And our Director of Community Services has left. I'm just kind of curious, and maybe we could find out from the next meeting or through this process, if this might be something that would well go through the Community Investment Fund or program, maybe?
City Manager?
Mr. Mayor, yes, this would ordinarily go through the Community Investment Program. The letter says that it acknowledges that it's outside of that process as a special request. And I don't believe there's $5,000 left available this year in that fund.
Is this something that has to go forward this year, or could it wait until 2017, or do you know the answer to that?
And so day 5, my new job, I'm not certain I can answer that question.
Okay.
But what I do know is that in listening to the discussions with the current executive director, that they feel it is a critical program that needs to be out there right now.
Okay, Councillor Sauvé?
I'm just wondering through the footage, have you been in communication with victim services to see if there's already something out there?
There is nothing. This is a new program completely.
So you have contacted
Yes.
with victim services?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Phew.
All right. Okay, Alan, thank you very much. Yes.
I'm prepared. I'm prepared that the letter dated June 28, 2016, requesting funding at least $5,000 to produce an educational public video regarding victims of crime be received.
Second, Mr. Mayor.
All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Alan, something that I will tell you is that I'll certainly do my best to help you find funds. There are a number of sources of those kinds of funds in the city. We do have the Community Investment Fund. As the city manager says, it's not doesn't have enough money left in it this year to give you the $5,000, but it starts with a bigger budget in each year. So that is definitely one possible place where you could go to, but there are many other places in the community where we can go and check and see if there's monies available. Okay, thank you. Nothing under proclamations, but under informational correspondence, City Clerk?
A few items, Mr. Mayor. The Alberni Valley Heritage Commission provides minutes from their meetings from December right through till May 2016. The Canadian Federation of Independent Business has shared the results of their property tax gap report regarding municipal business tax. The Corporation of the City of New Westminster requests support of a resolution being submitted to the UBCM regarding tenant evictions through renovations. The Maritime Heritage Society thanks the city for providing necessary equipment and staff for volunteering their time to help prepare foundations necessary for building a shelter at their Harbour Road facility. Alberni Pride provides information regarding the upcoming annual barbecue on July 23rd at Williamson Park. The Island Corridor Foundation advises the first local government liaison committee meeting will be held on July 22nd in Nanaimo, which Councillor Alberni, I believe, will be attending. BC Transit has provided a letter providing their BC Transit annual performance summaries.
Thank you, City Clerk. Council, anybody wish to extract anything? Councillor Alamani?
Just two of them. The Island Corridor Foundation one, just wanted to, I've already asked for input from council going to that meeting, and I'm looking forward to that, but also want to put it out there to the public that they can contact me if they have any sort of burning questions that they'd like me to put to the Island Corridor Foundation. Also, the BC Transit report, I was reading through that. I have to say the numbers are really quite encouraging. They seem to be going up in all the right places and going down in all the right places. So that's all you can ask for.
Okay, thank you. Anything else, Council? Councillor Paulson?
This just relates a bit to the Alberni Valley Heritage Commission, and I know that a few months ago we passed a motion with regards to the Board of Management for McLean Mill and the train, and I'm just hoping that maybe we can get a status report of kind of where we're at with that transition. And me being in private business, I guess my question is where are we at and when are we going to be finished with that so we can turn that Board of Management loose on doing their job? But I don't know if I can address that to the city manager or. Thank you.
Councillor McClement?
Yeah, the Board of Management right now is waiting to make themselves into a legal entity, or working on that, and that's why we're meeting with Michael Frechette soon with City Council. The other thing that's happened is there's been some damage done to the green chain, and it's not functional, and it seems like the Industrial Heritage Society feel it can't be repaired for a couple of years, which would be a cost stream problem. And so I've got some serious concerns maybe with some of the stuff that might be happening, but they are waiting for that, and I think it'll work out, and we'll see.
City Manager?
Mr. Mayor, I think Councillor McClellan has answered that question.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Minions?
Thank you. Just wanted to point out one more thing. The report from the Canadian Federation of Independent Business talked about property tax gaps between residential and business or commercial properties, and Port Alberni has the lowest gap, which is a really good thing. So I think that's something that we could be talking about to businesses talking about moving to the community. Thank you.
And our increase for commercial taxes was kept to the cost of living, so, and that's been standing for a while. So Councillor Minions, do you want to move receipt of this correspondence?
That informational correspondence items numbered 1 through 7 be received and filed.
Your seconder?
I'll second that, Mr. Mayor.
All those in favor? Carried. There's no report from in camera, so then Council, that brings me to my report. Of course, there's many, many things like all of you that I get engaged in, but I want to give you a little flavor, a 3-day, just a little example of the things that I was involved in. June 30th, there was the Logger Stomp fundraiser where I got to go in the dunk tank to help raise money. Happy to report that a total of $9,500 was raised at that event that day, and a total actually of $23,000 raised for the loggers from Franklin River Division, or the old Franklin River Division. So it was very successful, lots of members of the community out. And Councillor Sauvé, thank you for your help with that.
Does that mean I was the first one to dunk you? Yes.
You were the first one to dunk me, and you know the water got warmer and warmer. July the 1st, there was a parade that started at 9:30, and contrary to what was published in the local paper, I was in the parade, and I was in one of our trucks right behind MLA Scott Fraser. Sucking exhaust from that truck the whole time. But the parade was good, and lots of people watched it. And then I went from there to Folk Fest at Glenwood Center. Then headed to Gaga Place grand opening, and it was great, and it's going to be a tremendous community asset. From that, I went down to the harbor to the naval ship that was in the harbor, and it was great to see all the people lined up ready to see that. And then headed to Sprout Landing for a series of events there, including singing from the Sechot First Nation and all of that. Then we got to stay there a little bit and celebrate my wife's birthday, so that was a good thing. And then the next day, July the 2nd, there's grand opening for a new coffee shop called Full of Beans on Argyle Street, right near 3rd and Argyle. New owners, Rebecca and Sean. And if you haven't had a chance to go in and see them. They're great people, and it's a really, really interesting concept. One side is for, I guess, infants or toddlers, and they can play on the equipment there, and the other side is coffee and little bits of food and what have you. So it's a good way for both adults and children to relax. And then went to the NTC, New Channel Tribal Council, post-secondary bursaries and scholarships. And it was a lot of people. It was a great day, tremendous turnout, and it's really always a very moving ceremony. And also, Council, I want to remind you and remind the public that July 26th is the next Mayor's Train Ride, and tickets for that will be distributed through Echo Center starting July 13th, and we will keep a little cache of tickets here in City Hall. And Council, that's my report. I move acceptance of it. All those in favor? Carried. And from the Regional District, Councillor McClement, is there a report?
No, Mr. Mayor. The last meeting was a while back, and Councillor Polson reported on that, and due to the way the calendar works, this second Wednesday is just coming up, but there's not a meeting then either. I noticed by the schedule it's just one in July, and it'll be the 4th week of July.
Really? You mean I've got Wednesday off?
That's what I said when I looked it up too, Mr. Mayor.
All right. Do you want to move a receipt of your report?
I remove receipt of that non-report.
All right. And I'll second it. All those in favor? Carried. And now we're on to councillors' reports. Councillor Washington.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think I'll spend my time talking about our town. Our town's turns 31 this year. We're meeting tomorrow night at Blair Park from 6 till 8. Just a wonderful event, free family fun for over 31 years. And these events have been brought to you by Kiwanis Club and Parks and Recreation. And thankful for all the community support we get. So we'll hope to see everybody out tomorrow night at Blair Park. That's my report.
Thank you. And Councillor Alberni.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Not a big report. I was at the Loggers event there on the 30th. Unfortunately, I missed watching you or being able to participate in dunking you, but maybe next time. And then on July 1st, I was in the parade with Councillor Washington and my son on the one of the trucks there, so that was lots of fun. I can confirm I saw the mayor in the parade as well. And then I just wanted to give a shout out to Sprout Lake Landing that had fireworks on July 1st, which I don't know the last time there have actually been fireworks for July 1st in Port Alberni. And it was a great event. Some of the best burgers I've ever had for $8. Just incredible. And just lots and lots of fun. So kudos to them. And hopefully they do it more in the future. So that's my report.
Thank you. And Councillor Minions?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Not a lot to report for me either. I attended the Chamber of Commerce board meeting. I was excited to hear that they received $80,000 from the federal government as a grant to go towards planning the Triclonic Challenge coming up next year. Other than that, I attended my 10-year grad reunion this weekend. 10 years. And actually, I had spent a lot more time discussing Port Alberni politics than I planned to. But a lot of really good suggestions, actually. It was interesting to hear because a lot of people that I graduated with have not been back to Port Alberni in like 7 or 8 years. I was really surprised. A suggestion that came up many times was renaming Port Alberni. To get rid of the stigma that is associated with the name. And I said, after Gertrude Street and Stamp renaming, I don't think we're going to be trying to name Port Alberni anytime soon. But it was a great event, so that's my report.
Thank you. Councillor Paulson?
I'm not really going to report on anything that I did, but I want to take this opportunity to talk about something that gets forgotten in our community, and that's a different kind of tourism, and that's sports tourism. And I want to recognize all of the groups, the minor hockey groups, the minor softball groups, soccer groups that put on tournaments throughout the year. And just in the last 3 weeks, we've had the monster Okie Days and Music Festival. I can't remember how many teams there are, but there's 70 or 80 or 90 teams in that event. There is not a piece of accommodation that's available on that weekend from here to Parksville, including Parksville. Just recently, our Minor Softball Association held another BC Girls Softball Championships. That brings families from all over British Columbia into our community. And just huge kudos to Alberni Valley Minor Softball for what they do in this community. And virtually, they put their neck on the line almost every year to host a BC finals at one level or other. And I just want to really congratulate them on what they do. Their organizers are really energetic and they do a great job. And last but not least, I stopped by the multiplex today, and today is the first day for the junior prep camp, and I had a chance to talk with one of the owners, Nate Leslie, today. He's very happy about the 5-year contract, by the way. But we're talking about this first week is week of elite female athletes from all over North America. But some of the interesting things, they have 4 NCAA Division I coaches and 3 Canadian University head coaches. Coaches from North Dakota, Syracuse, University of Connecticut, Lindenwood in the States, UBC, Western University in Canada, Lethbridge University. Next week, legend Rich Sutter will be here. And in week 3 and 4, 9-time Stanley Cup winner Barry Smith will join Penguins head coach Mike Johnson as guests. They have families from Hungary, US, Japan, and Western Canada here just this week. I just want to give those guys kudos. They're over the 4-week period of time, they're well over 800 registrants, a huge economic generator. And sports tourism, I think, is underestimated on the dollars and cents that it brings to our communities. And I just want to thank all the organizers for the great job they do throughout the year. So that's my report.
And Councillor Paulson, just to add to that, you'd be happy to know that I threw the first pitch on the U19 softball, and it was a strike. And then today I got a phone call from a man in Victoria thanking me, thanking the city for hosting it and what a great time he had had. And he was a grandparent who had come to watch his granddaughter. So he couldn't say enough good things about our city. So that was good.
Something about our facilities that people want to come here.
Yeah. Councillor Sauvé.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On the 28th of June, attended the Continuing Care Society Annual General Meeting, where our president, Bev Denning, has finished her term, and the new president is going to be chair. It's going to be elected soon. On the 30th, had the privilege to attend the Blue Marlin benefit held for the loggers with yourself, Mr. Mayor, and may I say that most of the funds coming from the dunk tank was due to you and myself, so very good. And again, thank you for your patience for being there. It was well appreciated. But I really want to hand it out to the Blue Marlin staff. It was amazing, the efforts and the dedication they had to put all this together, and they didn't have to. It was a short-term project, and everything went well. So kudos to the Blue Marlin and the staff there. July 1st, I want to thank the RCMP for accepting me again for marching with in Red Surge. I had to get rid of my beard, but that's fine. It was well worth it. Also attended the Folk Fest right after Canada Day. Lots of pictures being taken there. I attended the opening of Giga Park, which was is just an amazing. Each night I drive by there, and it's just an amazing asset to this community. So kudos to Mr. and Mrs. Giga for putting that up. Actually, there's a latest videos, a few skateboarders we're trying to identify, so we're working on that. On July 2nd, attended the outdoors activity, the concerts after the ball tournament, and yes, it was me in the mosh pit in the front row.
We saw the videos.
I don't care. I enjoyed myself. It was very well organized. Kudos to the security there, to the RCMP, their presence. It was amazing. It was well organized. On the 4th of July, I attended the Twining Society meeting. We're in the final steps for the delegation that's arriving on the 16th. Just to advise for the public that it's the 30th anniversary of our sister city, Abishiri, Japan. So we're getting that all together, and we're going to be having a presentation here and reaffirming our agreement with the Twin City. Also, just to let you know that the Twining Society is looking for volunteers. So anybody that wishes to share an experience of heritage and another country such as Japan, please get a hold of myself or Sherry McKinnon, and we're looking for volunteers. And that's about it for me. Now, on the 3rd of July, I did a big mistake on Facebook to post that this was the first day in 9 months that I had a whole day off to myself. And lo and behold, that was a big mistake, because I received a list. We're having an ongoing problem with illegal dumping, and I spent most of my day at the Cameron, Maine, filling up my pickup. So the story is out there. I don't know how to pass on the message to the public. There's not more that I can do except to publicly put it out there on Facebook about what they're doing to our community and so forth. So again, I'll be playing my little Mr. Investigator and try and find some information leading to the people doing this. But again, if you got trash, it's not a long way to go to the dump. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That's my report.
Thank you. Councillor McClellan.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, actually I've had a lot of time off in the last 2 weeks. I've had my family here from Taiwan, and granddaughter saw for the first time, so we spent a lot of time with her. I was going to make some comments on sport tourism, but just shout out to what Councillor Polson said. It's very important, and there's lots of other things. In fact, this past weekend, I don't know if it was a sport or not, but my wife was already part of organizing Women's Pioneer Skills at the Black Powder Range. I had 60 people there from Oregon, Washington, Idaho, Montana, and British Columbia, and they were all women, so I stayed away. They seem to have a good time, and they learn all kinds of stuff, and they're all happy when it's done. So And so that concludes my report, Mr. Mayor. The only thing I was going to say, you've already been asked about the bomb. They're waiting and they're working on becoming a legal entity, and they're doing a very good job. And they've done a lot to get the place going for this year, even though they're not actually operating it this year.
Right.
And I move all those wonderful reports,
Okay.
acceptance thereof.
And all those in favor? Carried. And Councillor Sobe, did you have one?
Yeah, I
last-
just felt to mention, and I really wanted to thank the volunteers who came out to help me for the illegal dumps, especially Mr. Matt Rivers, and just wanted to put it out there. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, council, there is no new business. Brings us to question periods, an opportunity for public and press to ask questions of mayor and council. Betty wishes to do that. Then council is, motion to adjourn would be in order.
I'll make that motion, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
All in favor? Carried. There we go. It's
Only 8:30.
8, yes.
your recess now.
I know.